I was asked if I would read something that I wrote the day Charlie was murdered, and then I'll expand on it a little bit. I wrote this out, and I remember I showed it to my wife, and I was sitting there, and I was praying about whether or not it was appropriate. And she read through it, and she goes, "Nick, you got to do it." So here it is. I said, "I am told that as a state representative, this is the moment where I'm supposed to express my heartfelt condolences and then stand in solidarity with those on the other side of the aisle as we condemn political violence and stand unified as one people. But we aren't one people, are we? The truth is we haven't been for some time now, and there is really no point in pretending anymore if there ever was. We are two very different peoples. We may occupy the same piece of geography, but that is where the similarities seem to abruptly end. I convinced myself for a long time that whenever the left called me a racist, a bigot, a sexist, a fascist, a threat to democracy, for even the most innocent of disagreements, that it was simply hyperbolic rhetoric done for effect. And now the effect is a widow and 2 children without a father because the left couldn't bear the thought of a peaceful man debating them and winning. I don't think they realize yet, but murdering Charlie is going to be remembered as the day where we finally woke up to what this fight is really about. It is not a civil dispute among fellow countrymen. It is a war between diametrically opposed worldviews which cannot peacefully coexist with one another. One side will win and one side will lose. Charlie tried to win that fight through argumentation, through discussion, through peaceful resolution of differences, and the other side murdered him. Not because he was extreme or inciting violence or any other hyperbolic slur they hurled at him. They murdered him because he was effective, because he was unafraid, because he inspired others and made them feel like they had a voice, that they were not alone. And he did it at the very institutions which have fomented so much hatred toward conservatives. I don't want to stand in solidarity with the other side of the aisle. I want to defeat you. I want to defeat the godless ideology that kills babies in the womb, sterilizes confused children, turns our cities into cesspools of degeneracy and lawlessness, and that murdered Charlie Kirk. Social media is aflame right now with leftist celebration of Charlie's death. I wonder if any among them understand what has just happened. If there's a Yamamoto somewhere in their midst, warning that all they have done is awoken a sleeping giant. I doubt it. I think they gave up such introspection and self-awareness long ago. I don't know exactly what will happen next. I just know it won't be the same as what has happened in the past. There will be thoughts and prayers. Charlie would have wanted prayers. Not for himself, but for those left behind and for the country that he loved. But then there will be a reckoning. My Christian faith requires me to love my enemies and pray for those who curse me. It does not require me to stand idly by in the midst of savagery and barbarism. Quite the opposite. So every time I feel tired, every time I feel discouraged or overwhelmed, I am going to watch the video of a good man being murdered in Utah. I will force myself to watch it. And then I will return to the work of destroying the evil ideology responsible for that and so much more. Rest with God, Charlie. Your fight is over. Ours is just beginning. Now, the Speaker of the House of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Don Scott, had something to say about that. He said I was wrong. He said that this is not a war among diametrically opposed worldviews. No, this is just a civil dispute among fellow countrymen. Is it? Well, that's interesting. Because I'm listening to Abigail Spanberger go around the Commonwealth of Virginia right now telling everybody to let their rage fuel them. What are they raging about exactly? Are we not transing kids fast enough? Are we not chemically castrating gender-confused 10-year-olds at a rate that they would prefer? Are we not killing the unborn in numbers sufficient for them? Are we not indoctrinating children within the public school system to the degree that they would approve of? What is it that they have to be mad about? They've been winning. For decades, they've been winning. as we have been told that our job, our responsibility as Christians, as conservatives, is to not do anything that might upset things. We're supposed to take the high road, and the high road has been interpreted as being nice. Romans 12, the very end of the chapter, it says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Not niceness, not tolerance, not accommodation. Yes, the same chapter in Romans which tells me that I am to bless those who curse me, that I am to feed my enemy when they are hungry, that I am to give them something to drink when they're thirsty. Ladies and gentlemen, they're not hungry and thirsty. They have treated us like their enemies for decades. We just stopped disagreeing with them. And I will tell you, Charlie getting murdered in and of itself changed a lot, but their reaction to it, that's what changed everything. That's when I realized, oh, if it were me, my wife, for Jay Jones, my children, they'd be celebrating. And why wouldn't they? You see, they used to just say, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a sexist. Why? Because they wanted to rob you of your moral authority whenever you spoke. Because if you are those things, why would I listen to your positions on economics? Why would I listen to your positions on social policy? So if I can slur you, if I can taint you and your arguments with that moniker, regardless of whether or not it's true, I can silence you. I got used to that. But then they changed the language, right? No. Now we're fascists. We're Nazis. We're threats to democracy. See, they don't call you that to silence you. They call you that to establish a moral framework so when they use violence against you, they can prove that it was just self-defense. Or as one member of the Chesterfield County School Board said it, I remember when we used to celebrate Nazis getting shot. So you tell me, Don, Mr. Speaker, do I peacefully coexist with that? Do I allow you and your perverse political party and agenda to continue to indoctrinate children, to kill them in the womb, to surgically and chemically mutilate them? Do I allow you to systematically disarm people at the same time that you allow violent criminals out of jail early? Is that what I'm supposed to peacefully coexist with? Is that what we're supposed to be quiet about in our churches as to not offend? Yes, I remember reading all about Christ's ministry on earth and how he never offended anyone and then they crucified him. Look, the days of playing pretend are over. The days of wishful thinking are over. If we actually want to live in the sort of society that we talk about, one that believes in things like free markets and property rights, representative government, if we really want to be able to pursue happiness, I think it's about time that we understand something. Those things are not the objective. They are byproducts of a godly people that put truth above comfort. For too long, whether it be in our politics or in our churches, we have convinced ourselves, we have allowed ourselves to be convinced that the way that we're going to win over the other side is by not offending them. What position can we take that they will not be offended by? If I have actually laid out everything I believe and I have done it as well as I possibly can, as earnestly as I possibly can, trying to convince someone that I bear them no ill will, but I believe these things. I believe they were genuine and true and good. And at the end of that, the only response is, you're a Nazi. They're offended by anything. If the truth offends you, your problem is with the truth, not with me. If the truth offends you, that should be an indication that maybe you need to change the way you think about something. Biblical love is not acceptance of whatever sort of mistruth or sinful behavior is being elevated by the culture. And quite frankly, we've had way too many churches in this country, in the West, that have been so concerned about being culturally relevant that they've been absolutely irrelevant to the culture. And I'm done with it. I'm watching Christians right now getting persecuted in Nigeria. And you know what's happening to the church in Nigeria? It's exploding. We keep talking about trying to avoid a persecuted church. God, hear my prayer. I would rather a persecuted church on fire for the gospel than the weak and feckless one we've created here in America. It was not some grand theologian writing a white paper at Westminster Theological Seminary that resulted in 100 million people hearing the gospel. It was a bold and unapologetic defender of the faith in the man of Charlie Kirk. That's who affected that. Why? Because he ignored what the culture told him in broad, and he ignored even what the culture in the church had started to tell him. That was a man that recognized what it cost to save him and wanted to make sure that other people knew about it. And did he let it inform his politics? Yes. I'm sitting here listening to Tim Kaine going, well, who believes that our rights come from God? You mean other than all the Virginians that wrote the Declaration of Independence? The reason why we acknowledge that our rights come from God is because we acknowledge that there is a creator. The rights that he has given us are not the arbitrary dictates of you, Senator Kaine. That's why we defend them. We have a unique opportunity. I have never been more encouraged or proud of a generation than I am of the one that's sitting in the audience right now. And I'll tell you why. I was speaking at University of Alabama a couple of weeks ago, and I am expecting the hostility, right? I'm expecting the questions to come up. And then I'm expecting conservative students to get up and try to navigate the minefield of non-offense. And instead, what I saw were students standing up in front of their peers going, how do I raise a godly family? How do we push back against the sin which has creeped into our culture? I was at a high school the other day, the second largest TPUSA high school chapter in America, the first largest in Virginia, in Albemarle County. For those of you who may not know, Albemarle County, not exactly a bastion of conservative thought. And this young woman gets up in front of all of her peers, about 180 of them, and says, we've signed a petition in order to keep boys out of our bathrooms. What's more we can do? Her school board came after her. She didn't care. Why? Because it's the truth. Do we honestly imagine that we save anybody by allowing them to believe a lie? Simply because it might be convenient in the moment. To anybody here that might be a pastor, or to anybody that's a pastor that's watching it, I want to tell you something. Young men of this generation have reversed the trend with respect to religion and society. They're coming back to church in groves right now. And the reason why they're doing it is because they realize that everything they've been told, everything the culture has pushed on them, has failed them. They're looking for something true and powerful and transcendent. They want meaning and purpose and identity. What are they going to find when they walk into your church? Oh, see, I wish I could be confident. I wish I could be confident. They walk into Josh McPherson's church, I'm confident. They walk into John Lovell's church, I'm confident. Because I know what they're going to find there is men of God not afraid to preach the gospel and tell them exactly how it's supposed to impact their lives, yes, to include their politics. And that's what we need. We need young men and young women that are absolutely committed to this, because I can tell you this much. Young men and young women committed to God, who become husbands and wives committed to God, who become mothers and fathers committed to God. A nation of that is a nation whose politics you don't got to worry about. I've heard it I don't know how many times about not wanting to talk about politics from the pulpit. Well, they're coming for your pulpits. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How far will you retreat exactly? Are you afraid to talk about abortion? You know, when the Canaanites or the Carthaginians sacrificed their children in the fires of Baal, at least they thought it was because the crops wouldn't come in. Why do we do it? Mere convenience? Interesting statistic I heard from the Blue Ridge Crisis Pregnancy Center, where they said that 80% of the women that came in to talk about having an abortion said that their church had no impact in how they viewed the choice. If that's your church, pastor, you have failed. But you don't have to continue failing. You can make a change. Because quite frankly, I think it's about time that we recognize something. Christ did not promise us peace and prosperity and security. He told us to pick up our cross and carry it for him. And who are we to tell him no? Now, I will never forget this part. Because right after Charlie Kirk died, and I saw people like Destiny and Hassan Piker get on social media and say that conservatives should be afraid. If you wanted Charlie Kirk alive, Donald Trump shouldn't have won a second term. He said that. Now, the message I will say for people like Hassan Piker and Destiny, who are very, very brave on social media, is that you should be very, very careful discussing war with people who have seen it. Because if violence is what you want, I know how to deliver it. But it's not what I want. Because I can't help but remember that arguably the most powerful evangelist outside of Christ himself was once one of the largest persecutors of the church. And there still yet might be somebody who on September 10th laughed and mocked and went on social media and said the most vile and horrible things, who might have that moment on the way to Damascus. So I will remember, I will force myself to remember that my fight is not ultimately against flesh and blood. But I will also remember, for anybody that would tell me that I should be afraid, my God does not permit me to do so. My God calls me to be bold. My God calls me to be a bold and unapologetic ambassador. So if it's the older generation in here, what are you presenting for this generation that's coming up that is curious in a way that generations have not been in a long time? What are we presenting? Not just the arguments that we make, but what are we living our life? How are we living our life in such a way as to demonstrate to them that this is true and we believe it and we're willing to fight for it? Because nobody wants to follow a coward into anything. Our next governor of Virginia, Winsome Sears, once said, she was at the March for Life on Capitol Square in Richmond. And she gets up there, and we're all wondering what she's going to say. And she goes, in the book of Revelations, do you know who is listed first among those who will not inherit the kingdom of God? Cowards. Ladies and gentlemen, cowardice is heretical. If we honestly believe, and I'm telling you I do, if we honestly believe that we have been saved by the love and grace of Jesus Christ, if we honestly believe that he has set the example that we should follow, then we cannot be intimidated, we cannot be threatened, we cannot be bribed, we cannot be dissuaded from the purpose that has been put before us. At this unique time, in this unique place, in this country, we are not just going to save our government, we're not just going to save our politics, we're going to save the souls of the people in this country, because that is the only way you actually save the thing itself. So be not afraid. I want evil to be uncomfortable in our presence. Because it's the only thing going to be demonstrated to those who are captured by us, that there is a better way, that there is hope, there is redemption, and the saving blood of Jesus Christ. And we forgive all because we've been forgiven. But forgiveness is one thing. Reconciliation requires repentance. So Don Scott, this fight is exactly what I said it is, and I will conduct myself as such. Thank you.